Hello, movie interns. I am the movie doctor, and today our case study will be on Avatar? No, I'm sorry. That name should be scratched out. It's actually The Last Airbender. And as with all of our patients, let's bend back the layers of this particular case's history. Avatar: The Last Airbender, as its title was originally known, rose to fame as an animated television series that aired on Nickelodeon for 3 seasons. The film adaptation began development in early 2007, when Nickelodeon Movies and Paramount Pictures announced that they had signed on one of the greatest directors of the decade to produce, write, and direct it. What great director, you ask? None other than Mr. Kid-Friendly himself, M. Night Shyamalan. Now, before this, Mr. Shyamalan had really started to fill a niche of supernatural, thriller, mysterious type movies the same way Stephen King did with his books. The problem was that the films he was turning out really weren't breaking any great barriers like some of his earlier works did. So it was a bit of a surprise to hear that he had grabbed such a coveted title like Avatar, especially with his decline in box office presence, as well as his previous history of film genre. But you never know. Maybe Mr. Shyamalan did make a smooth transition into fantasy epics. I can't imagine it being as bad as everyone says it is. It's bad. Well, let's get into examining this movie, and maybe we can see where it went wrong.
4 nations, water, earth, fire, and air nomads lived amongst each other in harmony. Great respect was afforded to all those who could bend their natural element. The Avatar was the only person born amongst all the nations who could master all 4 elements. He was the only one who could communicate with the spirit world. With the spirit's guidance, the Avatar kept balance in the world. And then 100 years ago, he just disappeared.
What a douche thing to do. Sorry guys, I don't like any of you anyway. Seacrest out. So after the Star Wars-esque backstory, we meet 2 of our main protagonists of the film. Katara, a waterbender with the innate ability to bend the elements of water to her will, and her brother bender, Sokka.
I'm sorry.
Doing what brothers and sisters do best.
Tiger seal.
Hunt for
sure?
food? In front of the greenest green screen that ever greened before.
I did everything Dad said to do. I watched what side of the fin tracks are more indented, that shows you which direction they're going. I saw how long the drag skids are, that shows you how fast they're going.
Ah, interesting. And, what do you do after you find said tiger seal? Sorry about that. Looks like you guys are just about to find something a little bit more interesting than food.
Katara, don't go near it. This is probably some Fire Nation trick.
You know, because Fire Nation loves their ice traps.
Slow.
But Katara, not trusting her brother's advice, decides to keep the story moving with some well-placed chops, causing the sphere to shatter, revealing our third hero, Aang, and his Deus Ex flying companion, Appa.
I ran away from home.
Aang explains to Katara that he ran away from home and got trapped under the ice. And Katara, not one to ask where home is for Aang, or anything for that matter, drops the subject because the Fire Nation has arrived, and we get to meet, we're over here, buddy.
I am Prince Zuko.
What did he say? He's the principal?
Fire Lord Ozai and heir to the throne.
Oh, he doesn't look like a school administrator.
All your elderly.
So permanent chip on his shoulder Prince Zuko captures Aang and takes him to his ship, where his uncle bender, Iroh, performs a test to see if Aang is the legendary Avatar. A little bit of mood lighting. Oh no, you've awakened T-1000! Good. My pet rock approves. After having passed all the tests, Zuko tells Aang that he is now the prince's prisoner. But Aang has other plans. And with the help of some well-placed Tai Chi farting effects, Aang escapes the Fire Nation ship and meets up with Sokka and Katara. And then they fly to, the Southern Air Temple. Thanks, Mysterious White Script. I wasn't sure.
Hey, Shinzo! Monet! I'm back!
TikTok!
Hey, guys!
Pippin! Picasso!
Is it okay if you tell me your name?
The monks named me Ong.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on.
Okay, guys!
I know you were kind of captured a little early, kid, but wouldn't that have come up in conversation while flying to the Air Temple? Which has clearly seen better days. And to any other person who would be classified as in ruins. But Aang, still not caught up with the rest of the characters on the plot, believes that he just left a few days ago. Once he finally realizes that everyone was killed because of the Fire Nation declaring war on the world, he kind of freaks out a bit. Okay, a lot. He freaks out a lot. Now in his avatar state, we find ourselves in the spirit realm, where Aang meets the exposition dragon, who...
The Avatar. Where have you been?
Apparently doesn't know a damn thing. Ah, well, enough of our heroes. Back to the Fire Nation. Oh good, Asif Manvi. He's hilarious on The Daily Show. He'll cheer us up.
As you know, the Fire Lord has banished his son, the Prince.
Yeah, kinda got that whole monotone blues thing too, eh, Asif?
Throne, unless he finds the Avatar.
Time to address a small medical issue that seems to crop up a lot in this movie. Like most Shyamalan movies, the characters in The Last Airbender seem to suffer from a similar condition, usually referred to as dysthymia, which is a mood disorder that usually manifests as a chronic state of depression. Unlike clinical depression, dysthymia does not have its ups and downs, so it makes the person seem simply unemotional. Because of this, we get poorly read lines with no real emotion behind them at all, as if the actors really didn't have much direction. It makes you wonder if Shyamalan was standing there before the shot saying something like, "I want you to say your next line as if you were just watching the last movie that I made, The Happening." The one with the trees? Exactly. Yeah, about that movie, I was a little confused by it. Good. Use that. Action. So Commander Zhao here tells us how Prince Zuko is actually an exiled prince, asked by his father to find the Avatar before he can be restored to true Fire Nation status. Zuko isn't too thrilled with Zhao's public ridicule, so he lets off a little steam with a rousing display of flame fu, while his uncle looks on. Well, that's enough Fire Nation fun for now. I'm sure Aang is ready to tell us all about his spirit realm trip and... What? What are we doing here? What the fuck happened to the Air Temple? Did he really just clam up and not say a damn thing while plot holes shipped them to the next location?
I'll be fine.
Sorry guys, thought you were at the Air Temple. Had to catch up with the rest of the movie.
For what?
He was bending tiny stones at us from behind a tree. It really hurt.
I may be a firebender, but I'm emotionally vulnerable right now.
In this village. She's a bender.
Katara!
Wah, 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 wah. And for the second time, Aang is captured, even though Katara was really the aggressor, and taken to the Earth Nation camp, and promptly released from their bonds. Because they couldn't hurt anyone, right? They're just children and we're all powerful firebenders.
How did this happen to your village?
Fire Nation sends soldiers.
We're told by Father Bender here that the Fire Nation has forbidden the use of earthbending. But Obi-Wan Kenobi don't play that way.
Earthbenders!
Earthbenders? Nope, no earthbenders here. Go look somewhere else!
Yeah, quit bothering us,
They're
kid!
amazing people. You don't need to live like this. There's Earth right beneath your feet.
No way!
The ground is an extension of who you are.
Aang finally tells everyone that he is the Avatar, which is enough to get the Earthbenders to fight back and push all of the Fire Nation soldiers out of their town with the use of flashy... Dancy? No. Floaty? No. Man, that Aang can really throw his air around, huh?
I still do.
So after freeing the town, Sokka gets bitten by the exposition bug, and actually shows some genuine concern for once while he talks to Aang.
Prey the weakest towns and villages. We should go visit some of these towns, Aang.
I need to tell you something.
What is it, Aang?
I've had to go since the air temple.
I ran away before they trained me.
Aang explains that he never mastered the abilities to bend the other elements, and that he has to be taught each element in turn before he can truly become the Avatar. Sokka goes on to tell him of a northern water tribe who can teach Aang how to bend water. But on the way, they should stop in different towns and liberate them from the Fire Nation.
Should we try it?
Yes, we should.
Aang approves of this plotline, and so do the villagers. But no time for pointless montages. And believe me, this is a pointless montage. We need to check in with our Fire Nation friends for a public service announcement from Commander Zhao, who tells King Bender Ozai about these spirits who hold sway over certain forces in Benderland. And if the Fire Nation can control these spirits, they will become more powerful.
I am pleased. Well,
this is my pleased face. Zhao goes on to tell the king that there are rumors that the Avatar is just being a boy, and not a problem for a couple of Fire Nation troops. Ozai tells Zhao to capture the Avatar before his son does, or Zuko will be returned to power, and the commander will be his subordinate once again. And as if we need any more backstory and setup, we find ourselves in Northern Earth Kingdom, where ex-Prince Zuko is trying to spread his emo on everyone else. Now, to be honest, Prince Zuko is one of the more fleshed out characters in the film, as he should be, because he is basically Aang's biggest antagonist, next to Commander Zhao. He has the most emotional depth of all the key players next to his uncle, and he also seems to be struggling with how he truly should act. Ultimately, though, he is driven to capture Aang and win his father's approval once again.
We'll catch him soon, Uncle. Then we can think about the pretty girls.
And speaking of Aang, Avatar, the last pissbender. So Aang decides to run away again to find help. But wait, where are we? I'm lost! Please help me, white letters of establishing location! Ah. Whew. Thanks. I thought I was going to be completely in the dark there. But you wouldn't do that to me, would you, movie? Once at the air temple, he meets an old villager that shows him a room filled with other avatars that came before Aang.
These are the reincarnations of you over the years.
Oh, Aang, right, of the New Hampshire avatars. Big political family.
Was your last life.
For what?
But Aang's visit becomes not so friendly when the villager reveals that he lured Aang here to be captured. But that's okay. It gives Aang plenty of time to visit Spirit World and meet Exposition Dragon again.
I will stop them.
You must go to the Northern Water Tribe.
This time, he's told that the Fire Nation plans to kill one of the spirits from the Northern Water Tribes, and Aang must go to help. Okay, so, how will Aang get out of here? I'm sure Katara and Sokka will come in and save him. No one expects the Kabuki Inquisition!
To ensure our reign and the downfall of our enemies.
So I know that Slinky McNaught Prince Zuko here was an actual character in the series called the Blue Spirit. And he may come off as a little contrived. But his appearance further demonstrates the lengths that Zuko is willing to go to capture Aang. The spirit really is a pure embodiment of who Zuko can and will eventually become. So once Aang and the Blue Spirit successfully escape and cross the bridge, Zhao's archers takes way too good of a shot, knocking the spirit out and giving Aang a chance to figure out it's actually Zuko. Oh no, our only weakness, besides little children, fog! Aang escapes and takes Zuko with him. He leaves him in the woods so that he can join back up with Katara and Sokka on the way to the Northern Water Tribe. Welcome to the Water Nation. Please have your tickets ready for inspection. Once there, Aang begins to learn waterbending under the tutelage of Teacher Bender. The Fire Nation makes plans to lay siege to the city. Sokka finds someone to stare blankly at, and Zuko decides to go covert ops. Aang tells the Princess of the Water Nation that he wants to visit the spirit realm again, but needs somewhere very spiritual to do so.
Is there a spiritual place where I can meditate?
There is a very spiritual place. The city was built around this place.
He is taken to an underground cave where he enters meditation, while Katara looks on.
Aang, can you hear me?
Excuse me, meditating here.
I knew you were real.
Don't listen, don't listen, don't listen, don't listen.
I always knew you returned.
Me too.
Zuko shows up, easily defeats Katara, and takes Aang. But Aang is having his own scene within a scene, as he talks to the exposition dragon one more time. The dragon tells Aang that the reason he has been so troubled is because he hasn't properly grieved after losing his family, and because of this, his powers have not fully awakened.
Use the ocean. Show them the power of water.
Oh yeah, we're surrounded by water, and I can bend water now! Unfortunately, he has to get out of Zuko's capture first. Yet again. Thankfully, though, Katara is able to help with her own waterbending, and in a moment of mercy, Aang spares Zuko.
You won't be killed by waterbenders if you stay hidden here.
Before joining the fight for Helm's Deep, the Water Nation.
They're called many names.
Back in the cave, Commander Zhao reveals that the two fish are actually spirits, and he plans to kill them, thus giving the firebenders more power and weakening the waterbenders in the process. But Iroh has other ideas. You made Uncle Iroh angry. You won't like Uncle Iroh when he's angry. That's severe indigestion, Iroh. I'll prescribe for you a very nice acid reducer. With the Moon Spirit now dead, the battle begins to shift in the favor of the Fire Nation. But Princess Yue, having been saved by the Moon Spirit when born, decides to give up her life to do the same for it. With the Moon Spirit now alive again... Wait, is that possible for a spirit to be alive again? Never mind. The Water Nation once again has the upper hand. and Commander Zhao gets the true reward he deserves. A bath? Ugh. Thanks, guys. Same time next week. Aang, now feeling energized, and apparently just getting back from a lesson with Sub-Zero, speeds his way to the top of the wall to open up a can of Bender whoop-ass on the Fire Nation. Huh. I wonder why no one else thought of this before. I mean, I myself am made up of about 90% water. Oh well. Avatar powers activate! Dude, these are the most righteous waves ever! Hang 10, bros! So the Fire Nation fleet, having seen the end of the perfect storm, decides it's best to retreat. And with the threat defeated, the rest of the Water Nation celebrates. Well, not one Tusken Raider at least. Ah, and the clapper. Aang is then greeted by the city, where they all pledge allegiance to the one, the only, Avatar. Oh, and then we get a little bit more sequel build-up, which has yet to happen, but rumors are starting to build that Shyamalan is out of hiding for possibly another round of film bending. So that was The Last Airbender. And what's my final diagnosis? Please, please let someone else do the movies. This one was hard to swallow, movie interns, especially having seen a lot of the source material. I love the world that was originally created for the animated series, but for the most part, it didn't translate great to the big screen. But I don't want to compare the movie on just its adaptive flaws. And believe me, we'd be here for a while. The bigger problems actually existed within the movie itself. The acting was wooden and underdeveloped, the plot lines frayed at the edges, and the constant time and scenery jumps our main heroes went through made it feel rushed so they could just get to the final battle. Beside that, I felt like Shyamalan was trying to push as much history from the original series to make a 90-minute film. But I think he was a little too overzealous with this one. And it wasn't all bad, though. Zuko and his uncle were easily the best parts, as they actually conveyed emotion. The special effects were incredible, and rightly so, because Industrial Light and Magic had spent tons of time creating completely new technology to make the elemental bending look so cool. The cringe factor for Airbender is a good 7 out of 10. Not really worth the full price of admission, but if you just want to turn your brain off for an hour and a half, this movie is perfect. And if you're a fan of the show, be fair warned before watching, because if my limited knowledge of the show hasn't convinced you not to pick it up, then may the Avatar be with you. Well, that wraps up another one, movie interns. I am your movie doctor, and I'll see you in the exam room. Girl, look at that body.